The courtroom was still, the air heavy with unspoken emotions. Sergeant Nathan Carter, an ex-soldier, sat in his wheelchair, his hands trembling as they gripped the leash of his most trusted companion, Thor, his German shepherd. Thor wasn't just a dog, he was a brother in arms, a silent witness to the horrors of war. But today, Thor wasn't here as a companion. He was here because he was considered government property. And after years of service in dangerous combat zones, the military had decided it was time for him to be reassigned. Nathan had requested a final goodbye. Just a moment to honor the bond they had formed, a bond that no human could truly understand unless they had experienced the horrors of war firsthand. He wanted to look into Thor's eyes one last time, to say his farewells in the place where his fate would be sealed. A final chance to say, "Thank you, my friend, for everything." The judge prepared to announce his decision. Nathan's heart pounded in his chest. He knew that the military was cold in its decisions, but part of him held out hope. Hope that they would understand the deep bond between a soldier and his dog, that they would let them say goodbye in peace. But just as the judge stood up, something happened that no one could have predicted. The courtroom was silent, save for the rustling of papers and the sound of footsteps. And then it came. Thor's ears perked up. His eyes, usually calm, now glinted with something darker, something primal. His muscles tensed. He began to bark, but this wasn't the usual happy bark of a dog greeting its owner. This was different. It was sharp, urgent, and filled with a sense of danger. The kind of bark that soldiers, and those who have been in combat, know all too well. The kind of bark that signals something's wrong. Something's about to happen. Everyone froze. The judge, the lawyers, the court officers. They all looked around, confused and startled. Thor's growls grew louder, his body language more intense. Nathan's eyes widened as his hands tightened around the leash. This wasn't just any alert. Thor was warning them. But warning them about what? Suddenly, the door to the courtroom burst open, and a man dressed in black entered. His presence was like a shadow falling over the room. He didn't say a word. He didn't need to. His eyes locked onto Nathan and Thor, and for a moment, time seemed to stand still. The tension in the room was palpable. Nathan's grip on the leash tightened even further. Thor was now fully alert, his focus solely on this mysterious figure. Nathan's heart skipped a beat. He knew this man. This wasn't just anyone. This man had been part of his past, a past Nathan had hoped to leave behind. The man stepped forward, slowly and methodically. His every movement was deliberate, controlled, like a predator closing in on its prey. Nathan's mind raced, but before he could process anything, Thor made a move. With a strength that surprised even Nathan, the dog pulled on the leash and lunged toward the man. The courtroom erupted into chaos. People screamed, trying to pull the dog back, but it was clear that Thor wasn't acting out of anger. He was protecting his handler, his soldier. The man didn't flinch. Instead, he smiled. A cold, knowing smile. Nathan's heart dropped. "No," he whispered. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. The man was the very reason for his suffering. The reason he had come back from war, broken, scarred, and haunted by memories. The man was a former operative, a mercenary who had betrayed Nathan and left him for dead on a mission gone wrong. But how could he be here, in this very courtroom? Thor wasn't just alerting them to danger. Thor was telling them the truth. The truth about Nathan's past that he had tried so desperately to bury. And now, it was all coming back. Nathan had thought he was free, but the past was alive and well in the form of this man, standing before him, smiling like a predator toying with its prey. "Get that dog under control!" the judge yelled, but it was too late. The atmosphere in the room was charged with something darker than just fear. It was the presence of betrayal, of unfinished business. The man and Nathan's eyes met across the courtroom, and for the briefest of moments, Nathan saw the cold, calculating gaze that had once made him question his own survival. But then, something unexpected happened. Thor's growls turned to whines as he slowly backed away from the man, his tail between his legs. He was no longer in defense mode. His body seemed to slump in defeat, as if he too knew that the truth had been revealed. The courtroom was silent again, but this time it was a different kind of silence. The man, still standing tall, laughed, a low, menacing sound that seemed to reverberate through the room. Nathan felt his world collapsing around him. Thor, his best friend, his protector, had known something he hadn't been able to see until now. The past was finally catching up to him, and there was nowhere to run. But Thor's actions had triggered something in Nathan. Something deep inside him snapped. He wasn't going to let this man control his life anymore. He wasn't going to let his past define him. With one swift motion, Nathan stood up from his wheelchair, his face now set in determination. "Enough," he said, his voice steady and commanding. The courtroom fell silent, everyone in disbelief that the man who had been so broken only moments before now stood tall, unwavering. Nathan stepped forward, gripping the leash tightly. He wasn't going to be a victim anymore. He was going to fight. He was going to take back control, not just for him, but for Thor as well. The judge looked at him, unsure of what was happening. But then he realized this wasn't just about a soldier and his dog anymore. This was about redemption. This was about a man fighting not just for a final goodbye with his dog, but for justice and truth to finally prevail. The doors to the courtroom opened again, this time with more force. The police had arrived, and with them, the truth about the man's past actions began to unfold. Nathan wasn't alone in this fight anymore. His past had come to light, but so had his strength. As the man was taken into custody, Nathan and Thor stood side by side, a bond stronger than anything the world could throw at them. They had fought battles together, survived horrors together, and now they were free. If this story moved you, don't forget to like the video and share it with your friends. This incredible bond between man and dog is something that deserves to be seen by the world. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more inspiring and emotional stories. Together, we can bring more awareness to the untold stories that make us human.